As Coraline walked through the busy streets of her town, her mind was a swirl of thoughts. She watched people pass by, some happy and others deep in thought. Why do I feel so different? She wondered. Coraline was a 15-year-old girl who loved to read and dream about a better world. Yet every day seemed filled with walls and barriers that made her feel small. She often thought about how hard it was to fit in both at school and at home. At school, Coraline saw how her classmates treated each other. Boys made jokes that were not funny, and girls gossiped about one another. It was like everyone wore a mask, hiding their true selves. Coraline disliked how labels seemed to control them. She often heard words like nerd or weirdo thrown around in the halls. It made her sad. Why couldn't people just be kind? Why did some have to feel more special than others? In the morning, Coraline would get ready for school, staring at her reflection in the mirror. She brushed her brown hair and adjusted her glasses, wishing she could be more confident. If only I could be like the popular girls, she thought. Maybe then I would not feel alone. As she walked to school, she felt every pair of eyes watch her. It was as if they could see her fears. During lunch, Coraline sat with her small group of friends. They were nice, but sometimes they joked about each other too. Did you hear what she wore yesterday? One friend said with a laugh. It struck Coraline like a cold breeze. Why do we have to hurt each other to feel better? She thought. The laughter seemed to echo around her, and she often felt trapped in it. After school, Coraline retreated to her room, seeking comfort in her favorite books. They transported her to faraway places where kindness reigned and everyone was accepted. But the real world was different. She found it hard to see past the surface. She longed to talk to her friends about her feelings, but the words never came out. What if they don't understand? She feared. That evening, as twilight covered the town, Coraline went online. She enjoyed scrolling through posts, but not all were positive. News stories about how people were treated based on their background filled her with worry. Young girls and boys were bullied every day for being different. It made her heart ache. What can I do? She thought. I want to help. I want to live in a place where everyone feels safe. In her heart, Coraline held a dream. She wanted to change her world. But how would she face the challenge of stereotypes? A wave of fear washed over her at the thought. Could one girl make a difference? With a resolute mind, she took a deep breath. Tomorrow, she decided, I will try to talk about this with my friends. It was a small step, but it was hers. Now the question pulsed inside her. Would they listen? Would they understand? Still uncertain, Coraline went to bed that night with hope mixed with fear. The world outside remained full of issues, yet she felt a tiny spark. Maybe her journey to understanding stereotypes in media and herself was just beginning. The next day at school, Coraline felt nervous but ready. She decided it was time to talk about what she had been thinking. In her English class, the teacher, Mr. Thompson, assigned a group project. The theme was, how we affect each other. Coraline thought this was perfect. She saw this as a chance to speak up about the way people treat one another. As the students gathered in their groups, Coraline shared her idea. What if we talk about stereotypes? She asked. Some classmates looked at her with confusion while others shrugged. It's not a big deal, one boy said. Who cares about names we call each other? Coraline felt her heart race. It seemed so clear to her why it mattered. Yet some just didn't see it. A girl named Emily, sitting next to Coraline, looked concerned. I think it is a big deal, Emily said softly. Coraline felt thankful for her encouragement. Thank you, she thought. Maybe if they worked together they could make a difference. But it seemed tough. Most of the group seemed uninterested. During lunch, Coraline heard whispers. Two boys were laughing, pointing at a quiet girl in the corner. Coraline's stomach twisted. Why do they do this? She thought. It hurt her heart. Can they not see their words hurt? A mix of anger and sadness grew inside her. She wanted to say something, but fear held her back. What would the boys think of her? Would they laugh at her too? In art class that afternoon, Coraline saw more of the problem. Some girls were drawing on the walls. That girl is so scared, she will never make it in art, one said. Their words felt like a punch to Coraline's stomach. Why must they put her down to feel better? She wondered. Coraline began to see how strongly social norms shape their behavior. People seemed to think being mean was part of fitting in. Later, while walking home, Coraline reflected. It is not fair, she thought. Why can't we be ourselves without fear? Yet, deep down, she felt that others might feel the same. She came to understand that many students acted this way because they learned it from adults. Society sometimes seemed to tell them it was okay to judge others. That night, Coraline was restless. She spoke with her mom at dinner. "Why do people judge others?" she asked. Her mom looked thoughtful. "Sometimes people are scared of what they don't understand, Coraline," she explained. "But that does not make it right." Her mom's words gave her hope. If we can understand better, maybe we can act better, Coraline thought. Coraline decided she needed to be brave. The next day, she would speak to her group again. They could make a project that truly mattered. More than just words on a board. She wanted to show how caring for each other could change lives. Maybe some kids would see things differently. Maybe they would start to learn and grow. The issue was hard, but Coraline felt stronger with her dream. Embracing the challenge of stereotypes, she felt ready to lead her group. "We can bring change," she told herself. "I won't back down." In her heart, the small spark of hope began to grow brighter. She could picture it now, a classroom where everyone is treated kindly. The next day, Coraline was filled with nervous excitement. She gathered her notes and ideas for the project. As she walked to school, hope filled her heart. "Today is the day," she thought. "We can really talk about this." Upon arriving, Coraline found her group chatting in a corner. As she approached with her ideas, though, she felt a strange tension in the air. "Hey everyone! I have thoughts on our project about stereotypes," Coraline began, trying to sound confident. But a boy named Jake cut in before she could finish. "Stereotypes are just jokes," he said with a laugh. "No one cares if we make fun of others." His words hit Coraline hard. She felt a wave of frustration. Why can't they see, she thought. It seemed Jake didn't understand how hurtful his words could be. Emily, the girl who supported Coraline before, brought up some strong points. "But making jokes can hurt people," she argued calmly. "We should try to be kind." A few students nodded, but others rolled their eyes. Tension filled the room. Coraline's heart sank as she sensed the disagreement. Fighting against those deeply held beliefs felt daunting. During class, they started discussing their ideas. Coraline sensed more resistance. Many students did not want to talk about the impact of words. "Why should I care?" one girl said, crossing her arms. "It's just school. We need to focus on fun." The laughter in the room fueled Coraline's frustration. To them, the playful teasing felt normal. She wondered if they could ever change their views. A sharp feeling settled in Coraline's stomach. Every negative comment added weight. She thought about how biases were learned and not born. Looking around, she saw faces of doubt and disbelief. "What if they never get it?" she pondered. "What if I can't help them understand?" She felt the pressure build as stressful thoughts swirled in her mind. That afternoon, as Coraline walked to her favorite tree, she sat down to think. She felt the chill in the air pressing against her cheeks. It was hard to shake off the worries. What if the issue was much larger than she thought? As she stared at the leaves fluttering in the wind, she remembered a conversation with her mom. "Change takes time," her mom had said. The truth hit hard. Change would not happen overnight. Feeling down, Coraline overheard students talking about a video they watched. They laughed about clips that had harmful jokes about different cultures. "It's just funny stuff," one boy said. "Why get upset?" Coraline felt a knot in her chest. How can they be so blind, she thought. It was hard to hear the ignorance in their laughs. The weight of their actions laid heavy on her heart. That night, Coraline laid in bed. Her mind was racing. It was clear that misinformation surrounded her friends. They did not see how stereotypes quickly turned into harm. With each passing day, her challenge grew larger. "How can I help them see?" she whispered to herself. Before she could face them again, she needed to find strength. Coraline decided she had to dig deeper. She started researching stories that showed the real impact of stereotypes. The more she learned, the more determined she became. If I can show them facts, will they understand? She wondered. She felt a surge of confidence rising within her. Tomorrow she would share what she had learned. The obstacles felt heavy, but Coraline was ready to face them head-on. Even in the face of doubt, sparks of hope lit the way. She wasn't alone in this fight. She could be the voice for change. "I can make a difference," she whispered with newfound determination. It was time to take a stand. Coraline sat in the middle of her classroom, feeling a mix of fear and determination. The project about stereotypes was due soon, and she needed to present her ideas. She took a deep breath, feeling her heartbeat quicken. Her group had decided to make a video, but they kept making jokes that made her uncomfortable. Every time she brought up the issue, they laughed it off. The tension built inside her. Today was the day to speak up. As the bell rang, Coraline stood up slowly. The room was buzzing with energy, but she felt heavy with doubt. What if they don't listen? What if they laugh at me? She thought. But she knew she had to try. If she didn't, she would regret it. She stood in front of her classmates, her palms sweating. Everyone stopped talking and turned to look at her. "Can I say something?" she asked, her voice shaking a little but growing steadier. Coraline could feel the eyes on her, some filled with boredom and others with curiosity. "I know we want to make a fun video," she began. "But what about the people we are making fun of?" A silence filled the room. Moments stretched out, letting her words sink in. "Come on, Coraline. It's just a joke," Jake said, rolling his eyes. "Don't ruin this for everyone." His response sent a wave of dread through her. She could feel the laughter bubbling up behind him, other students nodding in agreement. It seemed like she was alone, like she was swimming against the tide. "Maybe we should think about how our words affect others," Coraline replied, her voice rising slightly. Her resolve grew. "I have seen how words can really hurt." But there were murmurs of doubt among some students. They didn't want to listen. Jake shook his head. "No one cares about that stuff," he insisted. "It's not a big deal." At that moment, Coraline felt the pressure crushing down on her. Should she continue? Would she lose friends? The stakes felt high. She could feel the weight of unhappiness clung to her heart. It was more than just a group project. This felt personal. A whisper in her mind urged her to back off. What if this costs me my reputation? But she also felt the burning fire inside her, fighting against the fear. Steeling herself, Coraline pressed on. "But what if we show people how to be kind instead?" The room went quiet. Some students looked intrigued. "What if we can inspire others?" she continued, her heart racing. The risk was real. Standing up against the majority could mean losing support. She could hear her classmates murmur, weighing her words. Just then, Mr. Thompson entered the room. He could see the unease on Coraline's face. "What's going on?" he asked. With trembling hands, she told him about the video idea and her concerns. "This is a good discussion," he said, but he caught Jake's eye. "However, keep it fun. Remember the audience." The dissonance in Mr. Thompson's words hit Coraline hard. They were supposed to talk about feelings, but the importance of kindness seemed lost amidst the laughter and the want for fun. A sense of defeat washed over her. What if no one really cared? The thought almost made her heart ache. She could see the lines drawn. The desire to share important moments or remain part of the crowd. Disheartened, Coraline sat down. She felt she stood on a knife's edge. Should she push further, risking everything for what she believed, or settle for a safer path? The choice was heavy on her heart, the weight making it hard to breathe. Inside, she battled with doubt, wondering if she had the strength to continue pushing against the current. It was a moment that would change everything. The path ahead felt uncertain, but she became determined to make her voice heard. As Coraline sat in her chair, doubt still nipped at her resolve, but beneath the weight of uncertainty, a small fire burned within her, urging her to take action. Suddenly, the familiar feeling of anger grew stronger. She watched as her classmates continued to talk, dismissing her concerns without a second thought. Enough is enough, she decided. In that moment, she felt the shift inside her, a change that no longer allowed silence. Taking a deep breath, Coraline stood up once again. "I refuse to sit here and let people be hurt. This is about so much more than just our project." Her voice trembled slightly, but she felt the strength rising within her as her words flowed out. The classroom fell silent. All eyes were on her, surprise replacing the earlier comfort of laughter. Jake frowned and crossed his arms. "What do you mean, Coraline? Things are fine. We're just joking." His tone was sharp, aiming to push her back down. But this time it didn't work. She kept her gaze steady, drawing courage from the moments she spent researching how words shape lives. "I care about how we treat each other," she declared, her voice stronger now. "Stereotypes are not just fun. They hurt people. They make us laugh at others' pain. Every day, kids get bullied for being different. You may think it's harmless, but it's not. The urgency in her words echoed in the room. Some classmates began to shift uncomfortably. A hushed silence held the space, heavy with Coraline's challenge. She pressed on, feeling the tension in the air thicken. I saw a girl cry last week because someone called her names. She was scared like many others. We have a choice. We can help change that. Just then Emily raised her hand. Coraline is right. We should really think about this, she said, supporting Coraline's challenge. Let's use our voices to spread kindness, not hate. Here, a flicker of hope sparked within Coraline, showing her that she wasn't alone. But the opposition did not end there. Jake piped up, his face tight with anger. You're just being dramatic, Coraline, he shot back. Nobody will take us seriously. It's just a project. Coraline felt your pulse race, but she stood her ground. We should do it right. If we ignore this, we might as well be a part of the problem. The walls of the classroom felt like they were closing in on her, the weight of resistance crashing down. Students exchanged nervous looks, caught between laughing and understanding. Coraline's heart raced faster as the reality of her words landed. Would they listen? Her mind swirled with concern. Mr. Thompson, can we talk about how we treat one another in this room? She called, needing a lifeline. The teacher had stepped back, quietly watching, absorbing the unfold. The gaze of peers felt heavy, weighing on Coraline as she confronted not just her classmates, but emotions and beliefs nurtured by years. She had brought them all to this peak moment. Do you really want to make a difference or just laugh while hurting others? She asked, poignant clarity in her question. This was her chance, to stand up against more than just the mockery that lived in their hearts. This was her moment of truth. A few students nodded, finally opening their eyes to the reality that shone through Coraline's voice. Tension filled the space. They seemed to recognize the urgency and resolve in her heart. Coraline felt that fire burned stronger within her. Courage swelled in her chest. The challenge was set. She would confront the pain directly, pleading for empathy and kindness. In that charged moment, everything changed. Coraline knew they needed to face this together. She had started a conversation that would lead to change. After Coraline spoke up in class, the atmosphere shifted. Some students looked surprised, while others seemed to reflect on her words. Mr. Thompson clapped his hands, breaking the silence. I appreciate your honesty, Coraline, he said. It is important to discuss how we treat each other. Coraline could feel the tension ease slightly, but fears flickered in the back of her mind. She wondered, will this make a difference? Will they really change? Some students whispered to each other, but Emily walked closer to Coraline. I think you did great, she said with a smile. You really made them think. Small sparks of hope ignited inside Coraline. Her heart raced with anticipation as the bell rang, signaling the end of class. When the students filed out, Jake, who had been resistant earlier, caught up with Coraline. I didn't get what you were saying before, but I've thought about it. I guess I could be nicer, he admitted reluctantly. It felt like a small victory to Coraline, a small step forward. However, not everyone felt the same. Some classmates rolled their eyes and walked away, dismissing the whole discussion. Coraline felt a sting of disappointment. Maybe this won't change everyone, she thought. Still, she noticed a shift in some friends. A small group gathered, talking quietly about Coraline's ideas. They began to plan ways to promote kindness in their school. It felt good to see even a few deciding to consider the lessons more seriously. That week, the project slowly evolved. Coraline's group decided to create a new video focused on kindness. They started including messages about understanding and respect. Emily suggested reaching out to others who might share stories about the impact of bullying. Let's show real experiences, she said. Coraline nodded, appreciating her enthusiasm. She felt like they were building something meaningful together. The next few days brought challenges. Coraline noticed changes in the school's climate, but they were small. More students began to speak up when others used hurtful words. Some even apologized if they realized their mistakes. Still, a few students held on to their old ways. They made mocking jokes and spread negativity among friends. It was hard to accept that change wouldn't happen overnight. During lunch, Coraline overheard a group laughing about the same girl they had mocked before. The moment hurt her heart. Why don't they see it? She thought, a deep sadness filling her. It was clear that while some began to shift their viewpoints, others were still stuck. The problem was far from solved, but Coraline chose to focus on the positives. She remembered Jake's change. As the week went on, he became more involved and often helped Coraline and Emily with the project. "I can make a difference," she told herself. With each passing day, louder voices pushed back against old norms. She also found herself developing friendships she had not expected. Working together sparked collaboration. Many students now saw what kindness could achieve, even if only on a small scale. Conversations started to change their school little by little. It felt powerful, even if challenges still lay ahead. Through all the ups and downs, Coraline began to understand that change took time. Her heart filled with hope when she saw her classmates connect the dots. If just one voice could start to raise awareness, then more voices could amplify that message. "This is just the beginning," she thought, knowing they stood on the edge of something much greater. In her heart, though the path was long, she felt proud. Together, they would continue to fight for kindness and understanding. As weeks passed, Coraline's project began to gain attention around the school. Students were starting to realize the importance of kindness, and the signs of change were beginning to show. The video they created was well received. Many students expressed appreciation for addressing stereotypes and bullying. Some shared touching messages with Coraline, letting her know how much the ideas meant to them. But not everyone welcomed this change. In halls, Coraline still overheard some students making jokes behind others' backs. It hurt her to see that not everyone believed it was important to treat others well. Yet, the positive feedback from students inspired her and reminded her why she started this journey. She understood that change takes time. One day, during an assembly, the principal announced the project and applauded Coraline's group for their hard work. They talked about the importance of promoting kindness in their school. Students clapped for them and Coraline felt a rush of pride. She big-heartedly smiled as she watched her classmates look enthusiastic. Many of them stood up and cheered. It was a moment to take in, a sign of a small shift happening in the school culture. After the assembly, word spread quickly about the project. Teachers began showing the video during classes, sparking discussions about how words impact others. These conversations made Coraline hopeful. She saw students hesitating before making hurtful jokes. This small pause felt like progress to her. Coraline believed they were learning to think more about their actions. However, some students were still resistant to change. A few complained to each other, imitating the messages from the assembly. "Give me a break. It's just a video," one boy said dismissively. It stung to hear the comments and reminded Coraline that change would not happen easily for everyone. Even as some opened their hearts, others still clung to their old ways. Through this experience, Coraline learned the importance of patience. Though she felt proud of the progress, she knew it wasn't the end. The journey toward kindness and understanding needed time. Fresh conversations sparked hope like small flames in the dark, but there were still difficult moments ahead. One afternoon, Coraline heard from a classmate that someone was bullied again. News spread and everyone whispered about it. She felt the wind knocked out of her lungs. Each setback hit hard. It felt so frustrating when they worked together but still saw pain around them. Coraline wanted to shout that they needed to do more. Undeterred, Coraline contacted Emily and Jake after school to discuss next steps. "We need to address this bullying openly," she said. They agreed and began to brainstorm ideas. "What if we host a rally for kindness?" Jake suggested, excitement filling his voice. Coraline's heart leaped at the thought. "Yes, we can invite everyone," she responded, feeling invigorated. At the rally, they planned to share their stories. This would create a safe space for others to speak up as well. They would remind everyone that caring for one another was critical. It felt energetic and powerful to think about what this could mean. If they failed in some areas, they echo their success in others. That day at the rally, they hoped to start bigger discussions. Coraline understood that while the road ahead had obstacles, unity was key to moving forward. Efforts toward kindness measured success in myriad ways. Each small victory strengthened their resolve. Change felt nearer every day, one voice, one action at a time. Coraline made plans to create waves of goodness throughout their community. As Coraline leaned against the school wall that day, she reflected on her journey, feeling a mix of emotions swirling inside her. It had been a long road since she first realized the importance of kindness. The project about stereotypes and bullying had come so far, transforming into something much bigger than she had imagined. Looking back, she felt proud of her courage to speak up. It wasn't easy, but she knew it was worth it. Coraline remembered her fear when she first stood in front of the class. It had taken a lot to push through all the doubts. Speaking up felt like jumping into a deep ocean, uncertain of what lay beneath. But each time she shared her thoughts, she realized she grew stronger. The project became a way for her to express not only her feelings, but also the many voices that often went unheard. She took comfort in knowing that her efforts mattered. The changes around the school became clear, and it filled Coraline with hope. She saw her classmates thought more carefully about their words. Some had even reached out to each other, building real connections that went beyond laughter. Every little victory made her heart swell. It felt good knowing that their campaign for kindness was doing something. Still, challenges remained. Not everyone accepted the new ideas. Coraline noticed some students still clung to their old ways, and situations of bullying persisted. It hurt to realize they would not all change overnight. But Coraline had learned that real change requires time. Patience was a key now in her heart. It took time for mindsets and perspectives to shift. One lesson stood out for her. It is okay to feel disappointed. When things did not go as she hoped, she realized it shaped her resilience. Obstacles could not break her. They only made her fight harder for change. She knew darkness often covered the truth, but shining light on real issues could inspire others. Standing there, she accepted that her journey didn't end with this project. It was just the beginning. Message boards and discussions encouraged her friends to keep pushing forward. They took hope in small steps. Coraline and Emily planned to keep organizing more activities, continuing to lead their school toward understanding and compassion. Thinking about the future filled Coraline with excitement and purpose. She had learned that being a leader doesn't always mean being loud. Sometimes it is just knowing how to listen. She felt the importance of creating spaces where everyone felt safe to speak up. As the school year went on, she decided to keep her heart open, continuing to support each other and her friends. Bridges could still be built. So, efforts mattered even if they seemed small. Coraline understood that this mission must live on in their daily lives. With a calm smile forming on her lips, Coraline took one last deep breath. Change was a journey worth taking, one she was proud to be a part of. Together with her classmates, she would continue to learn, grow, and fight for kindness. Even when shadows returned, their collective light could shine bright enough to make a difference. And that hope would always guide her forward. As the school year came to an end, Coraline reflected on all that had happened. She felt grateful for the journey she had taken with her friends. Their project had not only raised awareness about kindness, but also created real change in their school. New friendships had formed, and conversations about respect were happening more often. Their efforts had encouraged many students to think about their actions and words. Coraline watched her classmates grow. People began to stand up for each other, echoing the lessons they learned from the project. When someone heard a hurtful joke, they spoke out against it. This ripple of kindness became stronger as days passed. Not everyone changed at once, but the seeds were planted. Coraline felt proud to be part of something bigger that had made a difference in her community. However, there were still challenges that remained. Some older students continued mocking others, refusing to listen to the message. But now Coraline had learned how to respond. She felt stronger, prepared to face those who resisted change. I can show them the truth, she thought determinedly. Armed with newfound courage and understanding, she knew they could keep addressing these problems. On the last day of school, Coraline and her friends organized a final rally. They invited everyone to come together to celebrate progress and encourage more kindness. Posters filled with positive messages hung on the walls, and students joined hands with one another. Laughter and joy filled the air, but they also reflected on the lessons learned throughout the year. Some students even shared personal stories about their experiences being bullied, which created a touching atmosphere of empathy and connection. As Coraline stood on stage, looking over the crowd of excited students, she spoke from her heart. Thank you all for joining me. Remember that every word matters. We can all make our school a better place if we choose kindness over anger. Let's keep inspiring change. The audience erupted into cheers, and Coraline felt a rush of emotion. Their efforts would remain part of the school culture, shaping how they interacted with others. After the rally, students started working on ideas for next year's project. The message of compassion and unity would not stop here. It would live on. The community began to take notice of how strong their voices could be together. Some teachers began using Coraline's project as a model in their classes, encouraging discussions about respect and empathy with their lessons. That summer, Coraline kept having thoughts about how much they had achieved. The seeds of change sprouted into a garden of hope, filling her heart with joy. She wondered what would come next for her school, and whether other communities could learn from their experience. If they could inspire change in their small circle, what could happen on a larger scale? As the new school year approached, Coraline vowed to continue fighting for kindness. The story was still unfolding, and she felt ready to embrace the next chapter. What if everyone took small steps toward change? Coraline pondered. Imagine how different our world could be. With this thought, she felt excitement fill her heart for what lay ahead. Their journey had shown her that everyone can make a difference, and she was determined to be a part of it.